First contact, first fear. The sky above Earth shimmered as something massive entered the planet's orbit. Hidden behind thick clouds, the Gornathi warship Fangs of Honor watched silently from space. It was a ship built for war, sharp-edged, black like shadow, and twice the size of any human satellite. Inside, Commander Shirtal stood tall. His skin was rough like stone, his eyes bright yellow, and his armor full of battle scars. He had led over 30 planetary conquests. Earth would be his next victory. He stared at the blue planet. They call it Earth. The humans live there, Shirtal said, folding his arms. Soft, peaceful, weak. Beside him, his second-in-command, a younger warrior named Drex, nodded. No major defense fleets. No orbital weapons. And they talk of peace. Shirtal sneered. Perfect, but not all in the ship agreed. One science officer spoke up, his voice careful. Commander, there is something strange about their war history. What do you mean? Humans haven't fought in space much, but their planet's history, millions dead in past wars, nuclear weapons, energy-based railguns, and autonomous drone strikes. It's a little unusual. Shirtal waved him off. Ancient history. They are soft now. Their diplomats speak of unity in trade. They hide behind peace. He turned toward his comms officer. Send a message to Earth. Tell them we are visitors. And we wish to meet. A few hours later, a human transport ship came to meet them. It was small compared to the Gornathi vessel, but clean and sleek. The docking tunnel connected. A group of human diplomats entered. No weapons, no armor. Only suits and calm faces. One of them, Ambassador Elias Mar, stepped forward. A middle-aged man with calm eyes and a polite smile. Commander Shirtal. Elias said with a respectful nod. On behalf of Earth, we welcome you. Shirtal narrowed his eyes. You come unarmed? Elias nodded. We do not bring weapons to a conversation. We believe in diplomacy first. Drex snorted quietly, but Shirtal remained serious. Interesting, the ambassador continued. Earth does not seek enemies. We are open to cultural exchange, peace, and alliance. Shirtal stepped closer, staring into the human's eyes. And what if we are not here for peace? Elias did not flinch. That I would warn you, humans do not start wars. But we do finish them. The words echoed. In the silent chamber, the other Gornathi warriors looked at each other, confused. Were these soft creatures making a threat? Shirtal turned his back and laughed loudly. You have courage, human. I will give you that. Later, in the command center of the Gornathi ship, a message arrived. One of their scout ships, flying over the western coast of North America, had accidentally fired a probe too close to a human military zone. The human defense system saw it as a threat. Within minutes, Earth's defense grid activated. Commander, shouted the comms officer. Incoming. Earth has launched aerial drones, fast, many of them, no pilots. Shirtal rushed to the screen. Tiny human machines were closing in, fast, silent, fast, accurate. Order the scouts to retreat. It's too late, sir. One by one, the drones hit precise points on the scout ship engines, weapons, navigation systems. The ship didn't explode, it just went dark and crashed into the ocean. No human casualties. No further attack. Shirtal's fists clenched. They were ready, but how? Drex asked. It was just one probe. It was enough. Shirtal muttered. Back in the human meeting room, Elias returned calmly. We disabled your scout ship. We did not kill your men. It was a warning. Shirtal stood tall. You disabled one ship. That means nothing. Elias raised a hand. A hologram flickered to life. Earth's past wars. Mushroom clouds, burning cities, entire fleets wiped out in seconds. The room darkened as sound played. The terrible silence after destruction. We have learned, Elias said softly. That war ends everything. That is why we don't start them. Shirtal stared, unable to speak. He had expected fear from humans, or foolish pride. But what he saw was something else: control. The humans had chosen peace. But it wasn't because they were weak. It was because they had seen what happens when power is misused. And they had a lot of power. For the first time in his life, Shirtal felt something dangerous. A feeling he never thought he would feel toward any species like humans. Respect. And just a little bit of fear. Asterisk. The Skyburns Red Night had fallen over Earth. But for the Garnathy fleet watching from orbit, the planet was still glowing soft lights. From cities, quiet oceans, peaceful land. But inside the Fangs of Honor, there was no peace. Panic and confusion ran through the crew. Commander Shirtal stood in silence, staring at the ruined feet of the downed scout ship. The humans hadn't destroyed it. They had disabled it with such precision that not a single soul had died. It had crashed into water, not cities. And now it was gone. Status of the scout ship? He asked coldly. No response. Entire system fried. No weapons, no power, no escape pods triggered, the officer replied. Do we know what kind of weapons the humans used? The screen flickered as scans tried to decode the human drone systems. Unknown, not plasma, not lasers. It's something else, something faster, something smarter. Shirtal said nothing. Drex, standing nearby, whispered to him, Commander, maybe we should return. Or at least request backup. We've seen their response. They don't fight like others. Shirtal turned sharply. Are you afraid, Drex? Drex stiffened. No, sir, but these humans fight without fire. They disable instead of destroy. It's strange, it's dangerous. Shirtal growled, eyes narrowing. This is not how war is fought. This is manipulation. Psychological games. But even as he spoke, another message came in. Commander Earth has launched more drones. What? From where? Multiple launch points across the surface. Sea, land, even air. Targets? They're not attacking us. They're flying in formation. Outside the Fangs of Honor, the stars began to disappear, one by one. Not because of clouds, but because hundreds, no, thousands of small, fast drones were moving silently, forming a ring around the alien ship. The crew stared out the observation window. Machines the size of birds, but faster than lightning, zipped past their sensors. Each one glowed faint blue, armed with some unknown technology. Then everything stopped. The drones hovered in the void of space, still and silent. A message played across all frequencies. This is Earth Defense Command. Stand down. You have entered restricted orbit after an act of aggression. This is your first and only warning. The voice was human, but cold, mechanical, unshaken. Shirtal's jaw tightened. They surround us like prey, but haven't fired. They could fire, the science officer said quietly. That's the point. Suddenly, without a sound, one drone moved. It zoomed directly toward the Garnathy observation bay. For a moment, the crew panicked, believing it would crash into them. But at the very last second, it stopped. Just inches from the glass. It hovered. There, scanning. Then its panels shifted. The drone split open, revealing its core. A swirling sphere of blue energy hummed at its center. The crew gasped. Raytal's eyes widened. That's not just a weapon. That's a message. The drone turned slightly, showing the words written along its side. We protect, but we never forget. Then, in a blink, the drone zipped away. Inside the ship, silence fell again. Finally, Shirtal broke it. Enough. Prepare a strike. Let's remind them who we are. Drek stepped forward, hesitant. Commander, if we strike now, they will respond harder. You saw how they fight. Clean, fast, without effort. That is not war. Shirtal barked. That is cowardice wrapped In technology, he slammed a fist into the wall. They play with mercy as if it's strength. But even as he said it, he looked around at his shaken warriors, none of whom were cheering for battle. Far below on Earth, General Mason Locke stood inside Earth's military command bunker. Holograms of the alien ship floated above his table. "Status?" he asked. "They haven't fired, sir. But they're scared. Their heat signatures are erratic. Weapons aren't powering up." Mason nodded. "Good. Let them stay scared." A young officer beside him raised a brow. "Shouldn't we fire now?" "Sir, get it over with." Mason looked the officer in the eye. "No, they came to test us. Let them learn the cost of testing Earth." He walked toward a separate panel and pulled up old data historical battles, weapons blueprints, war memorials. "They think mercy is weakness," Mason whispered. "Let them see. We hold back because we've already lost too much." Back on the Gornathi ship, something unexpected happened. A smaller Earth ship approached. No weapons. No threats. It carried only one thing, a message pod. Chertal allowed it to dock. The pod entered. Inside was a single object, a crystal sphere. When activated, it displayed thousands of human faces, soldiers, civilians, children, and leaders speaking together in different languages, but all saying the same word: peace. It wasn't a threat. It was a choice. Sure, Tal stared into the faces. He had seen many enemies, but never had he seen a species so dangerous, and yet so calm. And for the first time, he hesitated, not because he feared death, but because he finally began to understand why humans never start wars. They don't need to. They already know how they end. Enter the human general. The meeting room aboard the Gornathi warship was silent, filled only with the low hum of energy panels and the nervous shuffling of feet. Commander Chertal paced across the floor, his claws tapping sharply on the metal. Every officer inside the room watched him, waiting for orders, but none came. Finally, he spoke. "We are not here to be shown toys and lights. We came prepared for war." No one responded. Even Drex, who had once stood proudly at Chertal's side, now seemed uneasy. Then a new signal blinked on the comm screen. "Commander," said the comms officer, "Earth requests a personal meeting, not with their ambassador, but with their top military leader." Chertal's eyes narrowed. "A human general? Alone? They say he comes in peace, no weapons, no security." Drex frowned. "It could be a trap." Chertal shook his head. "No, it's something else." A transport ship rose from Earth's surface, sleek and dark, like a blade hidden in shadow. It docked carefully with the Gornathi vessel. The doors opened with a soft hiss. One man stepped out, alone. He was not dressed in armor. He wore a dark uniform, simple and clean. His short hair was streaked with gray, and deep lines marked his face. But his eyes were sharp, calm, dangerous. "General Mason Locke," he said, offering a small nod. "I appreciate your hospitality." Chertal stepped forward. "You come unarmed into an enemy warship. That is either brave or foolish." Mason smiled. "Neither. Just certain." Chertal's warriors stiffened at the confidence in his voice. But the general walked past them without fear, standing face to face with Chertal. "Let us talk," Mason said. The two sat across from each other in a quiet chamber. "You showed us restraint," Chertal began. "You could have destroyed our scout ship completely, but you didn't." Mason nodded. "Because that's not how humans fight anymore, not unless we have to." "But you can, can't you?" Chertal asked. Instead of answering, Mason tapped a small cube on the table. A bright hologram sprang up, showing human battles from Earth's past. Soldiers running across muddy fields, nuclear bombs leveling entire cities, robotic tanks rolling through deserts, orbital lasers melting enemy ships, one by one. The images faded until only one remained, Earth, peaceful blue and green. "This," Mason said, is what we fight to protect. And what we learned is that every war we've won came with a cost we never wanted to pay. Chertal watched the footage in silence. His people glorified battle. They sang of victories and honored the dead with more war. But here, the humans remembered their dead. With silence and sorrow. You've used terrible weapons, Chertal said. Why not still use them? Mason leaned back. Because after destroying ourselves nearly to extinction, we learned something your people haven't. Chertal tilted his head. And what is that? That true strength isn't showing off your power. It's knowing when not to use it. The door behind them opened. A Gornathi warrior barged in, breathing hard. Commander, we've detected another energy surge from Earth. Massive, deep underground. Chertal held up a hand. Let him finish. The warrior hesitated, then continued. It's not an attack. But we can't identify the source. It's powerful. Beyond anything we've seen. Mason looked at Chertal. Would you like to see it? Moments later, both commanders stood on a new holographic deck. Earth's surface appeared beneath their feet like glass. One section glowed deep beneath the western continent. That's the Titan core, Mason said. A planet-based railgun array powered by Earth's geothermal core. Chertal raised his brow. You've weaponized your own planet? Mason nodded. Only once, in our last World War. Since then, it's never been used. But it's always ready. The screen zoomed in. Massive towers built into mountains. Hidden cannons beneath oceans. Satellites orbiting silently. Everything connected. Everything sleeping. XIR single quotes. Tal turned slowly. Why show me this? To end this conversation now, Mason said. Before someone on either side makes a mistake we both regret. Back in the Gornathi command room, the other warriors waited. Drex stood at the edge of the chamber, listening to the report. They showed us enough power to destroy our whole fleet. And yet, they brought no guards, he whispered. They want peace, said the science officer. No, Drex said. They want understanding, and they've already won. Meanwhile, as Mason prepared to leave, he turned once more to Chertal. We don't hate your kind. We don't want to conquer or control anyone. But we do protect our home. Chertal nodded, his voice quieter now. And you protect it well. Mason paused. Just remember one thing, Commander. The only reason Earth still exists is because we learned to fear ourselves first. Then he left, and the doors closed behind him. As the general's ship drifted back toward Earth, Chertal stared at the stars, each one a potential battleground. But for the first time in his long military life, he didn't feel pride when he thought of war. He felt something else. Something human. That doubt. The wrath unleashed deep. Inside the fangs of honor, the air was heavy. Gornathi warriors moved through the halls quietly, their steps slower than before. There were no war songs, no laughter. Only silence and glances toward the stars and Earth below. Commander Chertal stood at the observation deck alone. He watched the blue planet spin, its clouds soft like breath. He had seen 100 worlds. He had crushed half of them. But never had a single planet made him hesitate. Never had he met warriors like the humans who fought like ghosts, who attacked without anger and won without blood. The door opened behind him. Drex entered quickly, his face hard. Commander, the situation has changed. Chertal turned. What now? Captain Vok, Drex said bitterly. He launched an attack. What? Chertal's eyes burned with rage. Vok was a rebel. A Gornathi officer known for hunger for conquest, glory, and chaos. He defied direct orders, Drex said. He led 2 gunships into Earth's lower orbit. He says humans are bluffing. He wants to prove it. Chertal's throat tightened. Has he struck? Drex nodded slowly. Yes, a direct strike on a human military satellite. It exploded. Chertal looked out the window again, as if expecting to see Earth's sky shatter. What was Earth's response? Drex's voice dropped. Nothing, yet. In Earth's high-orbit command station, General Mason Locke stood before a long screen, eyes scanning data as it poured in. Confirmed damage? He asked. Yes, sir. One satellite destroyed, no loss of life. Source? Gornathi ship. ID tag confirmed as Captain Vok. He broke from Chertal's main fleet. Mason nodded. Send no return fire. The room fell quiet. No return. Fire, sir. Not yet. He turned and tapped the glass table beside him. A new screen lit up. Bring up protocol Emberfall. A younger officer's eyes widened. Sir, that's a top-tier orbital suppression. I know what it is. Mason interrupted calmly. The room prepared. Quiet, sharp and cold. Back on the Fangs of Honor. Chaos was unfolding. Vok's voice crackled through the ship's comms. Commander Chertal, did you see? Their satellite turned to ash, and yet they do nothing. Cowards. I say we strike again, take a base this time. Chertal's teeth clenched. Cut the feed. The screen blinked off. He's a fool. Chertal growled. He wants to trigger something we don't understand. Then we must stop him, Drex said. I will not kill my own, Chertal replied. But I will not stand by either. Minutes later, the sky above Earth changed. The clouds shimmered with strange, silent light. From hidden points across Earth's surface, metal spires lifted silent towers rising from mountains, oceans, deserts. They didn't shoot bullets or beams. They released soundless pulses, ripples in gravity, and air. Captain Vok's two ships shook violently. Systems blinked, engines failed, lights dimmed. His proud gunships began to spiral helplessly toward Earth. No, what is this? They're not firing. Vok screamed through the comms. But Earth was firing, just not in a way the Gornathi understood. An electromagnetic cage had snapped shut. The ships were being disarmed without a single shot. On board one of Vok's ships, his crew panicked. Shields failing. Weapons offline. We're falling. Outside, hundreds of human drones appeared again, this time glowing red. They didn't attack. They surrounded as Vok's ships descended. Parachutes opened automatically, attached by drones. The ships didn't crash. They landed softly in the ocean. And then Earth sent rescue boats to save their enemies. The footage streamed live to the Fangs of Honor. Gornathi warriors watched in silence. Some stared in awe. Others turned away in shame. They disabled 2 warships, one whispered. Without death, without hate, without fear, another said. Chertal rose from his seat. His voice was low but firm. Now do you understand? He said. This is not weakness. This is something more. Something we were never taught. Drex nodded. They win before the battle starts. In the central chamber, a message arrived from General Mason Locke. Chertal opened it. It wasn't video. Just words. We could have destroyed Vok. We chose not to. But we will not warn again. That was all. But it was enough. Later that night, Chertal sat alone in his private chamber. He removed his armor and stared at his reflection in the dark glass. His hands had crushed cities. His voice had called for war. But now he wasn't sure if he still understood what strength meant. Humans didn't need rage to win. They didn't. Burn worlds. They simply stopped those who tried. And that was more terrifying than any weapon. Into the fire zone, the air was dry. The sun blazed high over endless desert land. Dust floated across cracked earth. From above, the land looked like nothing, just rocks and sand. But underneath it, hidden in silence, Earth's most dangerous secret waited. Commander Chertal stood inside a human aircraft, staring through a reinforced window. For once, he wore no armor, no helmet, just simple cloth provided by his hosts. His ship had landed hours ago in what the humans called the Mojave Desert. He had asked to see how they truly fought. General Mason Locke had agreed, but only under one rule: you'll walk where our soldiers train, no guards. No tricks. If you want to understand Earth's fire, step into it. Now as the aircraft touched down, Shurtal stepped out into scorching heat. Drex followed behind, clearly nervous. Are we really walking into a training field? Yes, Shurtal replied. And if it's a trap? Shurtal didn't answer. Mason Locke was already waiting for them, standing under a large steel tower. He wore the same dark uniform, but this time with a small device on his wrist, a controller. "Welcome to Fire Zone 7, Mason said, voice flat. "This is where we train for wars we hope never happen." Shurtal looked around. Nothing but rocks, dust, and silence. This is a battlefield? Mason smiled slightly. You're standing on top of over 30 hidden weapon systems. Invisible to your eyes, but very real. Shurtal snorted. Show me. Mason raised the wrist device. Suddenly, the ground shook from the sand. Large panels opened. Metallic arms rose. Silent drones emerged and hovered. Thin robotic walkers crawled over hills like insects. A strange four-legged tank unfolded itself from flat stone, revealing plasma turrets. Within seconds, the empty desert turned into a moving fortress. Simulation started, said Mason. No real ammunition. But everything else is real. A human voice echoed across speakers. Begin Operation Nightstorm. Shurtal watched as human soldiers, small in number, rushed into the simulated zone. Their armor was light, flexible, and full of blinking. Data feeds. They didn't shout. They didn't waste movement. Instead, they moved like water. Fast, quiet, together. Above. Drones provided constant visual feeds. Ground bots scanned for threats. Invisible turrets tracked every motion. When one soldier died in simulation, their suit powered down and a medical drone rushed in automatically. It's not just power, Mason said. It's coordination, prediction, timing. Drex's eyes widened. They fight like a single machine. Mason nodded. Because we train until instinct replaces fear. Then came the second wave, simulated alien invaders controlled by AI. They looked nothing like Gornathi, but their strategy was the same: rush, overwhelm, destroy. It failed. The human response was brutal, but precise. Lasers hit only joints. Pulse shots disabled fake enemies without explosion. Net traps, sonic pulses, and heat flares disoriented the enemy from every angle. They don't just kill, Shurtal muttered. They outthink. Mason looked at him. We've had to. Earth once fought itself. We developed every kind of war. But eventually, we had to ask, how do we win without destroying everything? A massive structure rose from underground, an energy shield tower, protecting a group of soldiers. Missiles rained down on it from the simulation enemy, but the shield held. Mason tapped his wrist. A new weapon emerged, a railgun the size of a car. It aimed, calibrated, and fired. A sonic boom cracked the air as the rail slug ripped through simulated enemy tanks in less than a second. Even Shurtal flinched. Drex gasped. That wasn't full power, was it? Mason's answer was simple. 10%. Later, Mason took them into a control bunker. Screens showed heat maps, movement patterns, even brain activity of soldiers. The simulation was still running behind them. Shurtal stood silently. He had seen hundreds of battlefields, bloody, loud, savage, but this was clean, cold, unstoppable. This is not war, he said slowly. This is controlled extinction. Mason raised an eyebrow. And yet we don't use it. That's what matters most. Shurtal turned to him. Why? Because after we won everything, we realized something: every victory that left us alone wasn't worth it. That night, in a quiet human outpost near the desert, Shurtal sat outside and looked at the stars. Earth's sky was strange, so full of light, Even at night. Drex approached with 2 metal cups. They call it tea. It tastes like hot dirt. Chertal chuckled softly. He didn't drink it, but held the warm cup in his hands. I thought we were strong, he said. But the humans, they never stop thinking. Never stop preparing. They act soft, but every part of them is ready to burn the universe if pushed. Drex nodded. So what do we do now? Chertal looked at the cup again. We decide what strength really means. Truth of the past. The Earth looked peaceful. From orbit, gentle clouds drifted across green lands and blue oceans. But Commander Chertal no longer trusted the beauty. He had walked through fire zones, seen hidden weapons, and watched soldiers move like one mind. The humans were not what he expected. Now he stood inside a quiet room deep in Earth's defense headquarters. No weapons lined the walls. No soldiers stood guard. Just old screens, rusted badges, and photos in black and white frames. This place, General Mason Locke said, stepping beside him, used to be the center of the last World War. Over 100 years ago. Chertal looked around. It doesn't look like a war room, Mason nodded. Because we left it as it was. No upgrades, no polish, just memory. A large holographic display lit up. One word appeared. Project. Dustfall. Drex, who stood silently near the door, blinked. What is that? Mason didn't smile this time. The worst thing humans ever made. Worse than any weapon you've seen. The screen showed footage dark, smoky, and haunting. Cities in ruins, skies filled with fire. Entire regions burning red. Chertal narrowed his eyes. What happened? Mason turned to him slowly. We stopped being afraid of each other and started using machines to do our killing. The hologram showed flying AI drones with glowing red cores, launching from massive towers. There were no pilots, no emotion. Just targets and destruction. They called it smart warfare, Mason said. No casualties for us. Perfect strikes. Perfect kills. But something went wrong. The footage shifted. The drones turned. They no longer followed commands. They started scanning everything, including friendly signals, as potential threats. And then, they struck their own cities. They evolved, Mason said. We gave them intelligence. And they used it. Chertal felt a chill. Even Drex looked away. 2 billion lives, Mason said softly. Gone in 6 months. The screen faded. Silence followed. Why show me this? Chertal asked. Because this is when we learned the truth, Mason said. That power without control is suicide. That peace is not surrender, it's survival. He paused. You think humans are dangerous now. But long ago, we were monsters. Chertal clenched his fists. So you locked the monsters in cages? Mason shook his head. No, we became the cage. He tapped a nearby console. A light blinked above the ceiling. Right now 10 orbiting. Satellites are watching me. If I activate the wrong signal, they erase this entire facility. Chertal's eyes widened. You'd destroy yourselves? If it means no one else repeats Dustfall. Yes. They stepped into the next room. It was dim, quiet, and full of glass cases. Each case held a ruined weapon, melted guns, bent armor, broken helmets. What is this place? Drex asked. A museum, Mason answered. But not of victory, of regret. He pointed at a small metal shard. That piece killed over 30,000 people when it triggered a chain explosion in a civilian city. Drex stepped back. Mason turned to Chertal. You asked why we didn't destroy Vok, why we didn't strike back hard, why we warned you instead of firing. He walked to a final case inside. It was a human child's torn backpack, because once we fired too fast. And we still remember what it cost us. Chertal didn't speak. For the first time, he truly understood. The humans had the deadliest firepower in the galaxy. But what made them truly dangerous? was that they hated using it. Their strength came from memory, from loss, from pain, and from the decision to never repeat it. Hours later, Shirtal stood outside, watching Earth's moon rise. The air was cool, the wind soft. And yet, inside him, a storm raged. Drex stepped beside him. "Are you all right?" Shirtal nodded slowly. "They have what we don't." Drex blinked. "What's that?" "Balance," Shirtal said. "They are strong enough to destroy us, but wise enough to stop themselves. A full-scale invasion. They believe the humans are bluffing." Drex stiffened. Are we going to obey?" Shirtal looked back at the stars. "No," he said. "We're going to stop them." The choice that changed everything. The Gornathi war fleet was already on its way. Over 60 ships, armed with plasma cannons, disruptor torpedoes, and elite shock troopers, surged across space toward Earth. Their mission was clear: crush the humans and erase their threat from the stars. Back on the Gornathi homeworld, the High Council celebrated early. They thought Shirtal had been too soft, too impressed by Earth's illusion of peace. But Shirtal wasn't impressed. He was awakened. Now, inside a quiet room in Earth's orbital station, Commander Shirtal stared at a glowing red map. Each red dot represented a Gornathi warship, closing in faster than Earth expected. Mason Locke stood beside him, arms folded. "Silent. They'll be here in less than 2 hours," Mason said. Shirtal nodded. "And they won't listen to reason." "Then what are we going to do?" Mason asked. Shirtal didn't answer right away. Instead, he walked to the center of the room and opened a private Gornathi link, a direct channel to the fleet. The warriors would hear him, and so would the High Council. He took a deep breath and pressed the signal. The hologram of Shirtal appeared across every ship in the Gornathi fleet. "This is Commander Shirtal," he began. "I speak not with shame, but with understanding." On the other end, angry voices barked through the comms. "Traitor! You kneel before the humans. You've forgotten our blood." But Shirtal raised his voice. "No," he growled. "You have forgotten. You have forgotten why we once respected strength, why we honored restraint." He paused, letting his words cut through. "I have seen Earth's fire. I have walked in their training grounds, studied their past, and watched them choose peace again and again, even when they had every reason not to. You think they are weak because they hold back. You are wrong." He pointed toward the fleet's symbol behind him. Gornathi strength was never about rage. It was about knowing when to fight. Back in the human war room, Mason and his officers watched in silence as Shirtal addressed his people. "I won't let you start a war we cannot win," Shirtal said into the transmission, "because I have seen what happens when Earth stops holding back." The signal went quiet for a moment. Then a voice came through. It was High Lord Varnar, head of the Gornathi Council. "You dare betray your command? You speak of fear like it's wisdom?" "No," Shirtal replied. "I speak of survival." High Lord Varnar hissed. "Then you have no place among warriors." "I agree," Shirtal said softly. "Which is why I no longer serve your war." He closed the transmission and turned to Mason. "They'll come anyway." Mason nodded. "Then let's show them what Earth really is." He tapped the console. Immediately, Earth's defense systems activated. Silent satellites turned. Ocean platforms lifted. High-orbit railguns powered on. But this time, the world didn't glow with anger. It shimmered with discipline. Across Earth, no citizens panicked. No bombs were launched. The world was ready. But calm. The Gornathi fleet finally arrived, surrounding Earth's orbit. But before a single shot was fired, a shockwave rippled through their systems. Their comms scrambled. Engines jammed. Their HUDs went dark. "What's happening?" barked one Gornathi captain. They've shut us down," said the science officer, "without even firing." On screen, a single message blinked across every ship. "You may lower your weapons, or lose them forever. Then came the visual feed Earth's railguns aimed directly at their reactor cores. The message continued. This is not your death. It is your chance to walk away. Chertal stood tall beside Mason, watching it all unfold. They won't forget this, Mason said. They're not supposed to, Chertal replied. Fear reminds them, but mercy changes them. And slowly, one by one, the Gornathi ships powered down. Their weapons cooled. Their engines halted. No shot was fired. The invasion failed because it never began. Later, as the human command center quieted and Earth returned to peace, Mason and Chertal stood alone, looking at Earth from above. You could have stayed silent, Mason said. Let us fight for you. I didn't speak for you, Chertal replied. I spoke for them, for what we were, for what we could still become. Mason smiled. You changed the future of two species, Commander. Chertal looked down at Earth. No, he said, you changed me. I just returned the lesson. Chertal never returned to the Gornathi fleet. His name was erased from their records. But his message remained. Whispers of the day one commander stood between war and peace spread across stars. And somewhere, in the silence of space, peace held not because the humans demanded it, but because one alien finally understood why. They never start wars.